Yes, my friends, it's time to revisit a very interesting movie that I saw when I was a very, very little tiny tot. Believe it or not, yep, I used to have a crush on this thing.
What the fuck?
This has to be one of the most shameful crushes I've ever had. But you know what? In my defense, I was really little, and it was probably coming from a place of fear. Okay, you know what? I'm not even gonna try. Yeah, I'm not even gonna try to. Let's talk about the movie. So, the movie takes place in Ireland. It's about this guy and his family. He goes to the specific town in order to study the religion and whatnot there, and he gets a little bit more than he bargained for. Ha, the 80s. Back where kids died in movies. Man, I miss those times. All seems well until the townsfolk see this weird old stone that landed in the middle of their town. There are clues all over for this monster in the very church that they go to. When the sun shines through, you can see the red shining through this thing's eyes. And yes, this thing looks like the real-life rendition of Shrek if his face was thinner and longer, like in the front, or maybe Shrek's dog. Okay, that joke fell flat. That wasn't even a joke. Let's move on. Everybody just assumes that this is Satan. You know, coming from a religious sphere, I know there's like a lot of superstition with people there, but, you know, in the church, why would you want to have a dedicated picture of the devil in one of the panels of the windows? These little pane things always creep me the hell out. Not just the demons and stuff, but like people too, dude. Creepy. Brings back memories when we had to sit there and listen to the most boring music on the face of this frickin' planet. Some of them are really pretty though. Anyway, the light is shining on this guy like he was the chosen one from off of Pride Rock. Whew, damn, it gives me chills every time. God damn, every time. That just, the beginning of The Lion King just makes me want to cry. Every single time. Even though I've seen it from when I was a really little kid, till now, it still makes me want to shed tears. The whole thing just, whoo, chills. Back when movies were done well. Wicked. Anyway, this is a far cry from The Lion King, and that guy is no prince. He's a pastor of the church who's also flirting with, you know, the people in the pews. Yo, that look though, and this is something that happened all the time. I don't know why people just didn't come out and admit, you know, the pastor is a dude, like he's gonna have feelings. He's gonna see people looking at him in his place of power. Oh. While all of that's taking place, this one guy is left to try and take up this rock by himself, which seems like a very impossible task. Like, why would his friends go home and leave him there? Even though he said it's okay. They start doing cuts back and forth of people innocently in the church, minding their own business. The rock starts smoking, then lightning hits it in the worst effects that are so indicative of the 80s back then. It glows for no reason, and then her hand in the church, everything just total pandemonium. Look at the green screen. Look at the falling dill. No! Something is on Earth, and it's Rawhead Rex. Yeah, baby. Yeah. The guy who came there, who I'm assuming is an American, sees the picture in its fullness and realizes there's a piece missing, the very top. And we find out later that that piece happens to be a specific totem that is responsible for banishing that monster. The reason the pain was there in the first place is, you know, because they're showing people what to do if the monster ever comes back or how it was defeated in the first place. The monster kills a whole bunch of people. There's hanky-pankying, and the guy says he doesn't hear anything when the girl does. You know, 80s horror movie style. This kid sees the monster. We see close-ups of its stupid-ass face. This woman is watching the world's longest kissing scene ever. I guess that was the hub back then. The kid knocks on their trailer, tries to tell him what's going on, but can't speak. He had the presence of mind to knock, but he can't speak. Interesting. Nobody believes what's going on until the sister comes back, and she says she saw something too. She had her handsy boyfriend right behind her, but only his hand remains. Of course, by now everyone's freaking out because now they know they have a killer on the loose. Suspense is actually used pretty well in this movie, even though the rest of it's absolute shit. The possessed preacher is now the messenger of that demon thing. He crushes the guy's camera, and laughs in his face about it, because you know he's doing work for Satan now. The guy decides to drive home with his family, and the wife thinks she sees something. They go back to investigate and notice that it's a person. How would that scare a bird? That looks like a tree with 2 legs. Like, birds wouldn't look at something like that and be like, wow, that's a full-on human being. No matter, it was meant to scare us in the lieu of the moment. The little girl has to pee, and I don't blame her, because honestly, if that thing was my toy, I'd want to piss myself too. Great suspense used here when she goes out to go behind the grass. She screams, the parents run out to her, and of course you're made to think that this is the monster. Question, why couldn't she go back there now? I mean, the mom has this explanation that she's a big girl. She has to learn to go on her own. Okay, but why does she have to go so frickin' far on what obviously looks like private property? I mean, you're made to think that Ireland is a place of complete poshness and peaceful countryside scenery, but there are predators. There are bears and wolves there, so I don't know, my motherly instinct, I know I'm not an actual mother of a human, but I have 4 animals, and sorry, if I wouldn't let them go out by themselves behind a bush where I can't see them, I'm not letting a human child go out there. I mean, you're her mom. She's so freaking far. What if she fell in a hole? You didn't survey the land to make sure there's nothing there. What if there's poison oak? I don't know if there's poison oak in Ireland, but there could be other things that could cause allergic reactions too. Yeah, the kids have to learn to be themselves, but I don't see why she has to be so far and out of view. To be fair, the father is watching, but she could have easily just gone behind the wall, like right there where he is. I feel like they just did this for dramatic effect, and it was so freaking unnecessary that it was annoying. But this was a trope that they did back then, so surprising to see that people are still using it now, though. Now, the father was trying to be good and kept looking back at the car to make sure his son was all right. I'm guessing the reason he was doing this is to make sure the son didn't drive off with the car or something, because I'm like, he has to always be in your sides. I'd want the little girl to be in my sides too. But you know what? It's easy to sit and blame the parents, but I feel like real parents wouldn't do this. This is horror movie logic right here. This is always what they do. They make the characters stupid for no reason, but at least the dad was being watchful. And from his end, it looks like nothing was happening. Until he realized it was. And I don't know if he didn't really know what he was seeing or not, but bro, why are you taking your sweet time getting over to the car? You know that there's a killer thing on the loose, and that's the other thing I don't understand. Okay, let's just say that, okay, it's fairly safe. There are no wolves or bears in the area. You know there's a serial killer in the area. Why are your kids out of sight? But whatever. Okay, bitch, you could have opened that gate so frickin', oh my god. You know, this is so unrealistic. I know it's just a movie, I know it's from the 80s, but it still gets on my nerves. Normal parents would have fucking Usain Bolted their asses out of there. You would have seen them become Olympic contenders, leaping over gates in a single bound to get to their kid. Yet, you stay in the gate, you get stuck for a little second, and you stop and watch the thing slow motion bite its way into your child, and then you open the gate. What is the matter with you? You wasted so much precious time. You stopped and closed it. What in the hell? Oh god, that poor little kid didn't have to die. Of course, the guy's gone with his child, and I do appreciate this horror movie for not even showing the child later. You just see the sneaker, and you hear the creature crying out, and then the kid's gone. And this is such horrible acting back then. Jesus Christ, horrible acting. God damn. Now, Pet Sematary from 1989. This was one of my favorite films of all time because, of course, it was with the animals. Well, it started with the cat. I like the second one, too, because of the dog. But this scene right here stood out to me the most because the acting, especially for that time, was pretty decent for a parent who was actually afraid to lose their child. And then after the guy lost his child, that was really believable, and I appreciate that scene a lot.
Get him, Bud! Get the baby! Get the baby! Get the baby!
By the way, notice how the father is pelting it. He's not sitting there like, what's that? What? Like this father, he's like, let me look at this a second and move in slow motion when I know this creature is responsible for killing everyone in the town, and then kind of jog my way like there and kind of hang by a little bit. It's almost like he wanted the kid to die. Horrible. This guy in Pet Sematary, no, he didn't end up saving his kid, but at least you saw that he gave it real effort. Right after he fell, he kept on moving on all fours to try and get to his kid. And then him mourning his child or processing what just happened was so much more real and primal in Pet Sematary than it was in this movie. Jesus Christ, that was so freaking sad. You know, ooh, it just brings back memories of when I lost my dog, and I'm sorry, I know a dog is not a kid, but for me, that was my kid. And they always say that your life flashes in, like, before your eyes before you die, but when I held her in the room, when she was gone and her body was lifeless and felt really heavy, even though she was very small, and she just wasn't there anymore. As I held her and I was crying and bawling my soul out, it's like I saw her life flash before my eyes. Like, when I got her when she was like 7 weeks old and till she was 13, like that was, it's like a piece of me died with her. And watching that scene just brought it all back. I'm sorry. I really miss her so much. Anyway, let's get back to the review. Sorry, that was fucking depressing. Just came out of nowhere. So, in scenes like this, I feel like it's important to get people, or at least direct them. I mean, nowadays people are a little bit better at it, but to actually either have children or make them fall in love with something as they're training for the part so that when they lose that thing, it is believable. Because you really feel like your whole life is ending, like you can't breathe, like you feel physical pain. And I just didn't believe that performance from him. Also, it's gotta be, I mean, it's painful enough losing him, but imagine being so helpless, not even getting to say goodbye. Thank goodness I got to at least say goodbye to her, gave her a full last day. She was spirited. Aside from her not being able to walk because her heart was failing, she was still in good spirits and had an appetite and everything, and we got to say goodbye. This guy didn't get to say goodbye. His son was hauled off by the very thing that was not just killing people, but also eating them. And this was 1986, but Pet Sematary was like this was like a few years afterwards. And I've seen movies from this time that did a better job with people mourning over people they've lost. This part just was really silly for me, and I know a lot of people are gonna be like, well, it's just an 80s movie. Yeah, it is, but it still pisses me off because at that time, there were other films that were still doing it a lot better than the scene. Anyways, this guy was out for blood. He really wanted to kill this thing. The townspeople want to kill it. But now, the possessed pastors, which is like 3 people, are working against them because they serve this creature.
You came!
That's what she said. Sorry. Okay. Don't do drugs, kids. You know, I mean, but, you know, whoever, what? Let's just keep going. This guy's wearing the same expression on his face that I feel right now watching that, because, I mean, it looked like piss, but, you know, it was white, so whatever. He tries to get away inside the church, and Rawhead sends his servant after him, because we discover that Rawhead can't go inside the church. Why not? Because there's something inside the church that he's afraid of. What could that be? Why did I have a crush on this thing? It's so freaking ugly. Ew. Like, what the hell? Kids are weird. Or maybe it's just me. I'm weird. Then again, I'm also the person who had a crush on Nihilus from Mass Effect.
Commander Shepard, I was hoping you'd get here first. It will give us a chance to talk.
I don't know why I was nervous as hell in this scene. Like, dumbass. Shame I never finished the games. Anyway, Dad goes back for revenge since he's lost his son. The dying preacher outside told him it's something on the altar in the church that the thing is afraid of, and that's what he can use to defeat it. Also, remember I said it's the missing piece to that face on the panel? He opens a mysterious box, and everything back in the 80s had to either be very slimy or glow bright colors if they were ominous. He takes out the rock. The messenger tells God, or his god, that he could not stop the guy from getting the rock. The guy tries to use the rock, and the demon is afraid of it, but it really does nothing. He's just holding it like a freaking idiot. And the guy's like, okay, come at me though, bro. What you gonna do? The thing quickly realizes that he doesn't know how to use it. Ah, boom, bitch, you don't know what you're doing. Then the main character's wife comes on the scene. She tries to save her husband. She doesn't even know what the rock is, but she's assuming that could be important. So she just picks it up and knows instinctively that she's supposed to hold it up above her head in hopes that it will do something. Right before the beast kills her husband, she holds it up. And are you ready for The Exorcist 80s sci-fi horror movie horrible special effects? Then the husband remarks the only reason it works for his wife is because the person holding or wielding the rock had to be a woman. And of course, I don't know if they're trying to show off all the special effects and whatnot, but this scene took a really long time. It felt like a freaking Windows XP screensaver. And eventually, the creature gets upset and then dies and melts off. Jesus Christ, these are the worst special effects I've ever seen. Like, what the... Nope, there's still amazing bulk, so I can't really even say that. It's not fair. Once again, just like the history foretold on the panels, the beast is banished after about 5 freaking minutes. She drops the rock and it falls into the earth with him, and he is sealed there for all eternity. Psych! Because you're not allowed to have happy endings in 80s horror movies. Sacrilege. So that was that. That's the first time I've actually officially watched this movie. I know when I was a really little kid, pup, whatever you want to call me, my mother watched it with me because I remember that monster. But goddamn was it horrible. Something I do appreciate about the 80s, it almost seems like the creativity for the monsters were a bit more, I don't know, just more back then. So I decided to learn a little bit more about Rawhead Rex, this weird, mysterious creature. And apparently, Rawhead Rex was a titular main character of the short story of the same name by the horror author Clive Barker. Now, here's what's interesting about the monster. I know, I just cut off like really weird. Just reading into the wiki, so in the original story, Clive Barker described the monster as a 9-foot tall walking phallus with a face like raw meat, you know? I mean, they obviously didn't design it that way in this movie, but yep, let's see if we can see the original art for that. So, this is the original design for Rawhead Rex, I'm guessing, and then there's the up-close version. I'm just wondering what was going into the mind of this person when he designed this monster. Like, I mean, I've designed like phallus dragon-looking things, and they each had their own whatever. So, what was going through the mind of this guy? Then, when you consider what the crimes are for this monster, you look at his bio. Okay, mass murder. Yo, what the hell? Misogynistic attacks. Oh my god, dude, this is great. Like. Look, they kind of watered down this. I mean, I know I'm saying that because this movie was just full of, you know, it had its gore and stuff, 80s gore, but man, they really watered down what looks to be a really mean mofo. His goals are to destroy Zeal and its inhabitants, murdering townsfolk and devouring children. Dude, knowledge of arson? Okay. So my thing is, if you actually met this thing, could you kill it? And the wiki claims that he is it claims that he's shorter in the film and looks more like an ogre, which is exactly what I was thinking when I was watching it. There was a graphic novel too. Rawhead, god damn it. Rawhead, what the fuck? Okay, let's try this again. Let's take our time. Rawhead Rex's behavior is inspired by wild men from European folklore and mythology. Like them, Rawhead is a feral and beast-like as well. Is a feral and beast-like as well as somewhat furry or hairy humanoid creature that lurks in the woods. Both in the short story and its graphic novel adaptation in the movie, Rawhead Rex is sadistic and brutal. I feel like, yo, one of the things they say in the wiki is just so freaking hilarious. So, got all these buzzwords. This is what the wiki says. He kills everything in his presence, even children, with great delight. Though it's more apparent in the story where the creature's smile is written in words in the graphic novel compared to the movie, where Rawhead Rex seems to kill in a more animalistic manner. In the short story and graphic novel, he only decides not to kill a woman because she's on her period or the blood cycle, which sickens him, as do pregnant women, which is touched upon but left unexplained in the film. Otherwise, he has no issues killing or feeling them up violently. So maybe that's what happened to the woman. If anything, you could call this creature, the misogynist monster. It also is apparent that Rawhead adapts as he learns more about his new world. We don't really see that in the film. We only see him utilizing humans to do a lot of his bidding. Also, about why this creature seems to be phallic in appearance. Apparently, it symbolizes masculine aggression, or likely a representation of the male lovey-dovey drive to its absolute worst and most horrific extreme. Ha, you should see mine. Giggity giggity. I'm kidding. Anyway, character building in this was just almost non-existent, to be honest. I mean, they were just characters and they did things. The only character building we see, you know, if anything, is just the preacher guy who basically devolves as a person and enjoys being pissed on by a demon. The acting was like really bad. I think the only person who did a decent job was the preacher in the end that tried to stand up for what was right and got killed anyway. Not this guy. And the mother after she lost the son. The one that ended up saving her husband. The world also was kind of... I feel like there was a lot left out in the movie because this was based on a book. It was mainly about the scares and the shock of this creature killing people and stalking people. I feel like the suspense was done well in certain cases. You didn't really know who was going to die, you just had a feeling. The monster design was, It was good enough that I remembered it after all of these years. The dialogue was actually okay. It wasn't anything great. When the people were acting concerned, they do feel real. It does feel like real town folk talking to people and telling them things such as, you shouldn't be thinking about that right now. You just lost your son. Like, ideally, those responses to people's actions are realistic, but in terms of, like, banter dialogue, this really isn't the movie for that, so I don't feel like it's fair to even judge that. The music was just regular 80s music, horror music. It's just a generic 80s horror movie. It's not something that's gonna climb to the top of your radar like, oh my god, this movie's so freaking awesome, man. It's not that for me. It was more out of nostalgia that I decided to watch this because I remember that my mom and I watched it a long time ago, but that's the only time I watched the movie. I don't remember ever watching it again after the first time I saw it, except for now. Would I watch it again? Hell no. Would I mind watching again? No. It was okay. It's something that you can have like left on in the background and you won't go insane knowing it's running. I enjoyed the nostalgia, and I wouldn't say it's an okay movie, it's not a good movie or great movie, it's just a movie. Shout out to Ireland. Yes, I will get back to Movie Mondays. I was dreading them because honestly, I was starting to dread Mondays because it really does feel like my health was declining watching those movies. Like, it really felt like they were killing my freaking brain cells, guys. You don't understand. I'm glad you get a kick out of it, but it literally makes me feel like I'm gonna be sick every time I remember, oh god, Monday's coming up and I have to watch a movie that's gonna drive me insane and make me want to slap myself silly while watching it. But I will get back to them. Oh boy, God almighty. It does help knowing that my pain helps make a lot of people happy. Ugh. Anyways, what did you guys think about Rawhead Rex? Let us know in the comments, and thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.